Hello, everyone. Our group presentation today will be focusing on the Canadian employment projections for a time of 9 years starting 2019 and ending to 2028. According to the Government of Canada, unemployment rates have been falling and job vacancies increasing in most regions, leading to labor shortages. Experts explain that the aging population was one of the biggest problems facing the Canadian economy, and current immigration is still not enough to counteract the decline in the working age population. Canadian economist predicts that after the pandemic, labor shortages will begin to rise and many industries will find themselves lacking skilled labor.
Hello, this is Anwisha Manandar. Being the data analyst of the group, I will be introducing the dataset. I extracted the data Canadian Occupational Projection System from the Open Canada website. Employment and Social Development Canada uses the models of COPS to develop projections of future trends. The trends display annual total job openings, employment growth, labor force, and retirement by industry at the national level. The dataset encompasses columns with years and industries alongside occupational and retirement trends in the Canadian job market. The projection covers the 2019 to 2028 time period. The dataset was screened using Excel and Jupyter Notebook. I will now hand over to my colleague Yogita.
Hello everyone, my name is Yogita and I'm the data scientist of our group. So for the data cleansing part, the dataset consists of multiple CSV files that consisted of smaller parts of the whole dataset. And since many of the datasets were not all necessary, I have filtered the relevant ones and combined them in Excel, and further cleaning process was conducted in Jupyter Notebook. So for the data cleaning process, firstly I have imported the libraries such as NumPy, Pandas, and load the dataset. I have checked the top 5 rows using the head function and key information using info function, and using the shape function the data frame is found to have 240 rows and 8 columns. Then I use the isNull_sum function to check if any of the rows have missing values, and we can see that there are 0 null values, proving that it is a clean data set, and so we can move on further to the data analysis part without continuing on the cleaning process. So for my data visualization, I have created a bar and scatter plot using Plotly. So the first bar graph shows the number of laborers and job openings as per the age groups. It indicates that there are high number of job openings for ages between 35 to 39 as compared to other groups, and the number of labor individuals are always higher, but there is a less number of job openings in contrast with the available labor force, indicating an intense competition in the job market. The following scatter plot, again created by Plotly, displays the relationship between the number of employments and the number of retirements on the basis of the current and projected years based on gender. This population pyramid is created by Matplotlib, which characterizes the various sectors of the industry according to the number and gender of labor forces, which is males and females. And overall, we can see that the male workforce are more inclined to work in physical labor jobs than the females. So for the data analysis process of my visualization, so after loading the dataset, importing libraries, and checking the first 5 rows of the dataset, I also check the key statistics of the data frame. Here we can see that the number of job openings, the minimum ones are about 100, whereas the maximum are 779,500. Likewise, the minimum number of retirements is around 400 and the maximum is around 39,400 retirements. And likewise, we also used correlation function to display the correlation of the dataset and displayed it in a heat map. So using the Plotly plots, I used the Plotly Express graph to create this bar graph where I plotted the X, Y, title, and the label values and created this bar graph where it can be seen that the number of job openings is very, very high than as compared to other age groups. Likewise, moving on to the scatter plot, I have used again the Plotly Express graphs by specifying the animation frame columns. I added controls and animating graphs to uniquely identify objects across frame, and this animated graph provides slider controls to shift to any frame. Here we can see that it is the scatter plot can be animated through the play button, and as it projects through and as it moves through different years and the projected years, we can see that the scatter plot is differentiated and shows the relationship between the number of retirements and the number of employments. Moving on to the Matplotlib plots, I have used this to visualize the population pyramid, which is used to show the number of population of the number of laborers according to males and females as per the industry. I've also, as seen before, plotted the X and Y labels and characterized them according to their industry. And here we can see that maximum number of males are more inclined to do works in physical labor, such as like in construction, engineering, architecture, and other services, whereas in females they are much more inclined to less physical labor works. The maximum number of females work in food services, whereas the maximum number of males work in all industry sectors. So now I would like to conclude my data analysis and continue the part to my friend Anvisha. Thank you very much.
Hi again, this is Anvisha and I am the data analyst. I started off by making visualizations in Jupyter Notebook. The strip plot depicts the number of retirements by industry and year. As we can see, the agriculture, oil and gas extraction, as well as mining industries have the lowest number of retirements throughout all years. The industry with the highest number of retirement is healthcare services, followed by retail and trade. I then went on with constructing a violin plot. The violin plot depicts number of male and female workforce in the Canadian job market. The female labor force comprises of 1.2 million, whereas males make up 1.36 million of the labor force. To create these visualizations in Jupyter Notebook, I began by importing the necessary libraries and the datasets needed for visualization. I then proceeded with exploring both the datasets by visualizing the rows and columns and looking into data types to get further insights from the dataset. Having gained a brief insight about the data, I began to do the analysis by creating visualizations in Plotly. Using codes to create the visualization, I started off with a strip plot to show the number of retirements in different industries throughout the projected years. Here, we can see the data for different years. The highest point of retirement is projected to be witnessed in the healthcare industry in 2025, with about 42,000 annual retirements. This high number could reflect seasonal change in employment activity. Similarly, the lowest number of retirements in the industries goes as low as 2,000 annual retirements. The retail trade industry also has a high number of retirement, whereas the construction industry falls somewhere in between with about 27,000 to 28,000 retirements per year. I also use some codes to create a violin plot. For the violin plot, as we can see, the highest male laborers are 1.346 million, a little higher than female laborers, comprising of 1.2 million. This represents a slight gender gap in the employment in Canadian job market. We can also see the interquartile range for both the male and females. From this shaded part, we can determine the distribution of male and female workforce in the Canadian job market. Both the male and female workforce have a normal distribution. Since this is a prophecy dataset, I proceeded with making a comparison analysis between the present year and the future forecasted years. Here, the custard bar chart displays annual employment growth in different industries in Canada throughout the years 2021, 2025, and 2028. In the healthcare, food service, and social assistance industry in 2025 as well as 2028, there is a steady growth of employment. Healthcare service employments are expected to grow faster than any other sectors. Food services and social assistance are the two sectors of the economy projected to display positive growth in 2025 and 2028. In the retail and trade industry, despite seeing a steady growth in 2025, the annual employment growth in this industry eventually declined in 2028. Overall, Canada's retail industry's employment growth is expected to slow down in the projected future. I will now hand over to my colleague Akshay.
Hello, Rick. My name is Akshay Singh, and I have worked as a BI analyst for my team. In this presentation, I would be presenting some interesting visuals which will give us an insight about the future job openings in Canadian market and the distribution of the national labor force on the basis of their gender and age group. Let's have a look on my first visual. So my first visual is a stacked bar chart, which basically projects the most trending job openings of the Canadian market in upcoming years. As we can see, the industrial segments like healthcare, retail trade, and financial services will have large number of job openings. In contradiction to other industries, the sectors like repairing services, public administration, and school will have less job opportunities in the future. However, the labor requirement in segments like food services, legal accounting consulting, and other professional services will remain consistent. Now let's move forward to my next visual. My second visual is a tornado chart which represents the distribution of the Canadian labor force based on their gender. As the data shows, the number of the labor will increase in the future, that is from 2021 to 2028. However, if we distribute them in the terms of gender, it could be observed that male labor force would be more than the females. We would be discussing more about this visual in our dashboard. As of now, let's move to our next visual. My third visual is a donut chart which depicts the data and about the distribution of national labor force in upcoming years by their age group. It could be clearly observed that the highest percentage of the labor, which is 45%, would be from the age group of 25 to 40. And if we talk about the teenagers and the youngsters, we could see that approximately 13% of the labor would be from their age group. And at the least, we can see the labor percentage of 1.76 would be from the age group which is above 70. Now, as we had a look on the static visuals, let's move forward to my dashboard and have their dynamic view. So this is the dashboard which I have created using Power BI. And as I have introduced these three visuals already in my PPT, let me introduce this new visual, which is a table. So basically, this table consists data for different 42 industry types. So for example, let's have a look. This is having wood product manufacturing, wholesale trade, universities, textile, social assistant, etc., etc., with their corresponding year and the number of job openings. And as we already know, this is the stack bar chart, tornado chart, and the donut chart. If I talk about any specific year, let's say we want to see the data for any specific year, we can use the slicer. Let's say we want to have a view of these data sets for next 5 years. Let's say for 2025, we can have a look on that, and when we select that filter, we can see that the dashboard turnarounds for 2025. We can see that the healthcare sector in 2025 will have more job openings, and using these tables we can see the number of job openings for any specific industry as well. Similarly, using these slicers also, we can get a specific data. We can drill it down more, and if we want, let's say for an example, if we want to have a look on the agriculture sector for 2025, I have filtered it out using this slicer, and this dashboard will turn on for agriculture. Yeah, we can see in 2025 we will have 6,200 new job openings in the agriculture segment. This is it from my side. Going forward, our BI analyst Ahirme will be taking over.
Hello, my name is Ahira Malkala and I'm the second BI analyst of the group. I will be explaining the data visualizations done in Tableau. For the first visualization, I used a line chart to compare employment versus job opening trends in all industries over a time period of 9 years. The chart shows a significant difference between job openings and the number of employments per year. Most industries will continue to have large amounts of job openings. However, employment will continue to be significantly less than the available jobs. As you can see, as the years go by, there's a slight drop from 2019 to 2020, and then there's a slightly steady pace with employment, which is similar to job openings. But job openings still continues to be significantly higher than employment, which means that there will be labor shortages in many industries across Canada. For the next visualization, I used a line chart to compare the retirement trends to the employment trends in all industries over a time of 9 years. The chart shows that most industries will have higher amounts of retirement in contrast to the lower amounts of employment. From the chart, we can see that employment significantly drops from 2019 to 2020, probably due to the COVID-19 situation, which left a lot of people out of work. However, it is expected to slightly rise, but it still does not show that it recovers to the amount that it lost in terms of labor. However, retirement continues to be on a steady rise, which means that the aging population is continuing to leave the labor market, and while not enough people are entering the labor market. This means that more people are exiting the labor market than they are entering. These predictions show that in the next couple of years, many industries overall will be facing staffing shortages and will not have the support they need from labor. For the last two visualizations, I used highlight tables to present the yearly number of employment and retirement per industry. A highlight table helps to spot the interesting values inside a table. With the highlight table, I'm able to compare these employment predictions and retirement predictions per industry. By comparing the number of retirement employments of each industry, this highlight table allows us to see which industry is more likely to experience a labor shortage. On the retirement table, we can see that the construction industry, the food beverage industry, the forest and logging industry, financial and insurance and retail industry had high numbers of retirements that are predicted to increase through the years. However, on the employment table, the construction, food beverage, and forest and logging industry and financial, insurance, and retail industry had significantly lower numbers of employment. This means that these industries are likely to face high levels of labor shortages in the next couple of years. The second dashboard was made using Tableau. I put different charts and tables to effectively present the data. I used two highlight tables, as you can see, the highlight table for employment predictions and the highlight table for retirement predictions. And I used two line charts to compare the retirement versus employment and the employment versus job openings. These two highlight tables being next to each other allow us to compare the employment predictions and the retirement predictions using the color contrast. As you can see, the deeper the color, the more the number. So if we were to take, for example, construction, let's try construction. As you can see, construction for employment is significantly lower than construction for retirement. What does this say? This says that as many more people retire throughout the years, because it's growing and growing and growing, not enough people are entering the labor market. By 2028, 28,400 people would have retired, and only 9,600 people are predicted to enter the labor market. That is only half the amount of what the labor market is losing. Let's go back to all, and we click 2019. That gives us all the information for 2019. And if we are to click to 2028, that will give us all the information for all the industries for 2028. As you can see, let's try the health industry. The health industry is gaining more people than it's losing. But if you go up and you see the food service industry is losing more people than it's gaining. And the same as the mining industry. The mining industry is losing more people than it's gaining. In fact, the management industry by 2028 is set to lose 18,000 people and only gain 6,000 people. That's almost 3 times the amount of people. So what does this show us? This shows us that many of these industries are going to have a significant amount of labor shortage that will probably need government intervention to fix. In conclusion, the data shows that over the next 9 years, many industries in Canada would be facing a significant rise in labor shortage. Many industries in Canada will not have the staff and support needed to thrive. A large amount of the aging population are leaving, and not enough people are entering the labor market to support the predicted decline. This means to combat the predicted labor shortage, higher amounts of immigration is needed. The current working age population is not enough to support the needed industry growth.